Here we go, recording in progress. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this Thursday evening. Now, because we've been covering how to support ourselves emotionally and spiritually, mentally and physically this month, I thought that I would invite Adam to join us to chat about all things crystals, because clearly they have incredible powers, incredible ways of supporting us when we're needing that additional support, but also our environment. So I'd love Adam to talk about that. But also Adam has decades of experience, not only with crystals, but with plants and nature. And I would love Adam to be here tonight to share with us just how we can support ourselves on that metaphysical level and to gain an understanding of how we can do that ourselves on a daily basis so that we promote that long-term wellness, not just for our physical health, but our emotional, our mental and our spiritual health and well-being as well, which ties in beautifully to what we've been talking about each day. So I would love to welcome Adam Barralet in tonight. Beautiful friend. We've known each other for a little while now and we love to collaborate together. So it's never any drama. Adam's always very keen to share and support, and that's reciprocated. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, Adam.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So I'm really excited to share two of my creators' passions tonight, which is crystals and essential oils together. There's kind of three things I want to go through tonight. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about why I work with crystals or what makes crystals special and that type of thing. Then I basically put together 7 combos or 7 pairings of starting with really basic everyday crystals and an essential oil, all the way through to maybe some rarer ones. We've got some crystal connoisseurs in here as well. And then I thought I'd wrap up with, okay, we put these pairings together. How would we use them? How do they kind of work in that type of way? So when it comes to crystals, we have the plant kingdom, first of all. And I believe that we can get lots of different things from the plant kingdom. We get food, we get, teas, we get juices, we get flower essences. But I firmly believe from my experience that the cream of the crop from the plant kingdom is essential oils. You don't get anything more potent than that. And because it's a concentrated gift of the soul of that plant. When it comes to the mineral kingdom and the land beneath our feet, there is nothing more brilliant than a crystal. And that is kind of like the essential oils is to the plant kingdom. To me, the crystals are to the mineral kingdom as well. And I think sometimes, and even after working with crystals for about 25 years now, some days I just have those little moments where I'm like, this is all growing under the ground. And if you've got crystals kicking around your house or, in special places around your house or you're wearing them, and look at all those different colors, they're growing beneath you. Now, I know when I go walking in the bush, all I see is that kind of red gravel. That's it. But to think that the earth somehow creates this whole rainbow of colors and amazing combinations really quite fascinates me. So what makes crystals more powerful than maybe wood or glass or paper or plastic or something like that? Basically what it is that they grow in a crystalline structure or really organized structure. So if we get our little microscopes out and look at crystals on a microscopic level, they either grow in squares or triangles or hexagons or other symmetrical shapes. So as you know, when we're packing our suitcase, if we fold everything and put it in neatly, we can get a lot more in than just jamming stuff in. Same as when we organize the cupboard or the pantry at home or something like that. So what happens is it seems that crystals hold more energy than other what we'd call inanimate objects in that way. And I like to think of them kind of little USB sticks, that they hold this different energy in ways like that. Like our oils, like us as individuals, they each have personalities, and that's based on their color and their background and their chemical composition and all those different things like that. And if you've read my book, Gifts of the Essential Oils, you notice that we try and personify each of the oils. And I find that the crystals are exactly the same in that way as well. How crystals differ from essential oils, apart from the blatantly obvious, is oils, we know that when we put them on the body or put them in the body or around the body and smell them, within a few seconds, 20 seconds or so, dramatic changes start happening in the body. The body responds. So it kind of goes from the physical, and then we can then go into the energetics as time goes on. Crystals are a little bit more subtle. First of all, we can't, it's a bit harder to sense the life force in them as opposed to a plant, but they tend to work from the energetic all the way through to the physical. So what we kind of have is there's two things meeting beautifully in the middle. Now, sometimes, and I remember actually, I think it was when we were in, where did we, it was New Caledonia, wasn't it, Erin, that we went? Yes.
Yeah, in February last year before the world changed.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of doTERRA's incentive trips. And what, the great thing about it is you can take your partner along if they can come along, kind of thing. And I had one of, there's a lady there she was loving doTERRA, she's new. And I ended up sitting next to her husband, who came along just to find out what on earth she was doing on the bus. And he's like, "So you're into crystals, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't get it. Try and explain it to me," kind of thing. And I said to him, to be honest, I don't know how they work. But I know that when I started in my late teens and going on, that things started to change when I used them, that I would wish for something while holding a crystal and it seemed to manifest quicker. I know when I put one of my YouTube videos up about any of my crystals, I get comments from people all around the world within the first hour of, "I find that too, I find that too, I find that too." So I don't know how crystals work exactly. I can't tell you that. And there's, funding for crystals is not something that happens in researching crystals, but I do know that people have been using these things for thousands of years, and that we keep on seeing to get the same things from the same crystals. So basically, that like we use our essential oils to support our energy, crystals are the same. So what I wanted to do is, and please let me know in the chat, I'd love to know, how big is your crystal collection? Maybe you've got like hundreds and hundreds all around the house. Maybe you've got a couple that maybe you were gifted once and that's about it. Just so I kind of know who I'm talking to. And I know that obviously people will be watching the replay, so I won't zone in just in the group that's joined us, but just give me a bit of an idea as well. I'm going to start with the first crystal I ever bought. So these are ones where it's a really interesting time, and I love that Erin has been supporting you with this idea of how to deal with the stress and everything that's happening at the moment. I actually went and saw my naturopath for my checkup 2 days ago, and he said, there's this stress when we're like really, really busy and we've got 18 things to do in a day. And I'm like, that's not me at the moment. But he says, what can happen is it can be these undercurrents, like there's little things like money that can be worrying you, like, do I have enough money for this? Or, little things like that, that you kind of, on a day-to-day basis, you're not freaking out about it, but it's there. And then above you, you've got, I don't know what's happening with the world. Should I be getting the vaccine? When am I going to get to travel? Will I see my... So there's all these kind of little worries that are happening around us in the world and in our own life. And this can be really quite unsettling. And that can actually have quite a big impact on you, even if your life doesn't look stressful in that type of way. So I think it's really important with what's happening in the world at the moment and what you've been looking at this month to really look at how we can support ourselves in that way. I'll just have a quick look at the chat too as well. Probably 25, lots of kinds of tumblestone, beautiful mini crystals. Cool, and a few, awesome. Okay, so let's look at some different ones in kind of thinking about this stress, whether you are like boiling your top and overwhelmed, or whether there just seems to be this kind of stressful energy around you. So the first crystal that I ever got, this is not the actual first crystal I ever got, but amethyst. I think Erin's about to reach for hers. It's if it's not the first crystal most people buy, it's one of the first. And I find this beautiful purple crystal when you buy it, it's almost as though you're, whether it be your guardian angel whispering in your ear, or your guides, or your inner self, or your higher self, or something saying to you, there's more to life than this rat race, than trying to run around and finish off my to-do list and keep up with everyone else. And I just want to stop and pause and contemplate what else there is. And so amethyst has that energy. Amethyst is your 101 of crystals, as lavender is your 101 of essential oils, and they pair beautifully together. They both work with that crown chakra, and they're both very calming as well. Now, our crown chakra is this energy center that's meant to connect us to our higher purpose, our spiritual mission, and kind of understanding the bigger picture, and maybe even like getting some comprehension on why are we here. And people always go, well, why, if we're trying to become more spiritual, why would you work with these calming things like an amethyst and that? Don't you need something that's got cool superpowers and all that type of thing? But how we connect with our spirituality is not by doing more, it's by doing less. And both amethyst and lavender, either separate or together, really encourage you to do that. So they're really about slowing down and finding that inner peace. We know that we don't normally have epiphanies or, you know, great ideas when we're running around and in that kind of hyperspeed kind of mode. It's when we stop, maybe when you're driving, when you're in the shower, or if you actually give yourself that grace to go outside and sit outside for 20 minutes and have a cup of tea or any of those types of things. So amethyst is a really beautiful one to bring in that peace and just to create that space of peace and to slow down. And I think if you've got an amethyst or if you're drawn to amethyst, and as I talk about the different crystals tonight, there may be one or two that really kind of goes, oh, that really resonates. And those wouldn't be the ones that I'd really kind of say, yeah, go with that and go with the oil that matches with it as well. So when we're drawn to amethyst or when we have an amethyst, when we're working with amethyst, there is this need to slow down, to just contemplate a bit more, to get a bit more clarity. And there is a bit of a story as well about the kind of myth behind amethyst was that you may have heard of the god. He's a Greek god called Dionysus, or the Romans called him Bacchus. Now, he was a bit of a party god. He was the god of wine. So he'd be having wild parties all the time. And at one of his wild parties, this beautiful young maiden by the name of Amethystus came up to him and said hello. And he was like, oh, I want a bit of that. But she wasn't interested at all. So he had a few glasses of red wine and got a bit more brazen and tried again. But again, she was not interested. Had a few more wines, tried again, to the point where he was getting totally blotto and was kind of, really overbearing. And she was starting to worry about her chastity and her welfare. So she prayed to the other gods to help her. And the only way they could help her was to turn her into white quartz. Now, when Dionysus realized that he had lost her and she'd been turned into a stone, he fell on the statue and cried and cried and cried. But because he had drunk so much red wine, his tears were actually purple and it stained the stone, turning it purple. So amethyst actually translates to mean not drunken. And it's actually been used in the past when men would go drinking, they'd wear amethyst rings or drink out of amethyst goblets to not get too drunk. And there are even some Alcoholic Anonymous groups that use amethyst as a bit of a power amulet to support them in their, in the steps. Now, we may not have a drinking problem, but I'm sure at one stage or another, you become drunken or obsessed with something, like, oh, I must have that. Oh, this is the end of the world. And amethyst is really good when we find we're slipping into those extremes, when we're becoming drunken or obsessed with something. It's a stone of moderation. So not only does it help us find that peace, but it really helps us come back to that moderation. Everything is fine in moderation. Our body can handle anything in moderation. Our life, we can handle that in moderation. But as we start falling out of that homeostasis, out of that balance, amethyst will beckon you back into that way. So it's a really nice one in that way.
So Adam, just before you move on, so if we're using amethyst and we're using lavender in a practice, say we're wanting to, maybe we're barefoot, sitting out on a lawn or in nature somewhere, trying to take some nice deep breaths, we're using lavender and having amethyst. Is that like using them together in that kind of practice?
This is what I find works really well. Yeah, it's kind of, instead of having one thing helping out, you've got two. And they're two friends that are there supporting and bringing in complementary energies in that type of way. So crystals, if you think, relate to crystals in a way, kind of like people. And when like we see certain people that we're like, oh my God, you're so happy. And others are like, oh, it's so nice to see you. Do you mean like we have a different feeling to them? And amethyst is one of those ones that's just like, oh, it's nice. So I think that's what it kind of, and whether that's partly psychological or whether that is in the energy as well, it doesn't matter. Because, amethyst is one that just calms you down. So having that plus an amethyst is going to amplify what you're doing with your lavender kind of thing. So does that make sense?
Yeah, and so good for kids then, I would imagine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just as a side note, for kids, if you've got children under the age of 7, I would recommend letting them pick their own crystals. Their logical mind hasn't kicked in yet, and they know what they need. And you take them to a crystal shop, show them the tumbled stones, and you'll notice that they just dive in. And when I used to work in a crystal shop 15 years ago, I'd see parents go, "Oh, no, not that one. I read you need this one." It's like, "No, I want that one." Go with what they are, and then read up afterwards, and you'll realize why they're choosing them in that type of way. Other kids, I'd still trust my teenagers to choose for their self, or you could give recommendations and that kind of thing. But that's when they start working out, which would be the best color or what, that kind of thing. The logic starts kicking in like we have as an adult as well. But yeah, all that we're talking about tonight would be good for kids. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks.
Is there a connection with the colors kind of thing? Yeah, in a way, in this case, yeah. And with some of the examples I'm going to use tonight, maybe not, that it's always like color and color. Because if we look at plants like, I don't know, black spruce, doesn't need to go with the black crystal necessarily, or, not all the oils have a certain color that's associated with them. Roman chamomile, I like with a really soft blue crystal called blue lace agate. So a lot of the time it can be that matching color. And these pairings, again, are not like the be all and end all. They're, these are my suggestions to play around with. And if you go, I don't think lavender goes with amethyst, I think it's more clary sage, brilliant. At least you're trying them together. That's what I really encourage. Okay, so we've got this really beautiful spiritual one, kind of connecting with what are we here for, that comes in that way. The other kind of serenity we can find is on the earth. And so then we kind of look at smoky quartz. So smoky quartz is a really nice grounding one. This really helps to settle as well. So I guess the difference is amethyst is very much about the spiritual and the heavens and that kind of serene angelic piece, whereas smoky quartz is more that earthy nature piece in that kind of way. They're both different pieces in a slightly different way. And even how you find purple calming and brown calming, but in different ways. Smoky quartz is a really great stone to use as what I call a worry stone. And, often when we're worrying about something and going over things in our head, we don't think in a linear way. We don't think in clear sentences. It kind of all bounces around. And so what you can do is you go outside, and this is a beautiful thing to do, especially before you go to bed at night, and basically talk to your stone out loud if you can, or in your mind, and just say, do you know what I'm really worried about? I'm worried that I don't get paid for another week and I'm meant to be paying my mortgage tomorrow and I don't know where I'm going to bring out that money. And, just talk to it like it's a friend. And what you find is either writing it out will work as well, but speaking out, it just starts to, okay, this is what I'm worried about and this is where I'm stuck. And it kind of settles the mind a little bit. And you can kind of send that energy into the smoky quartz and then just leave it out on the earth that night and just say, I'm going to leave that out there. We'll see what happens, kind of thing. It's a nice one to carry in your pocket as well as that kind of grounding and earthing. And what Erin was saying before about standing on the earth with the bare feet, smoky quartz resonates really nicely with that. The main oil that I like with this is actually myrrh. Now, myrrh, frankincense gets all the attention. It's the king of the oils, but myrrh has that real motherly, that wise, knowingly mother, and it is really reassuring. Myrrh's really great for, we know physically it helps to heal our wounds. When we've got cuts in the mouth or if you cut yourself, myrrh's really, really great for that. And so metaphysically, it's also really quite nurturing in helping to heal our hurts and heal our wounds, especially things like regrets, or if you've stuffed up or made a mistake and you're beating yourself up. Myrrh's got this real kind of, it's okay. It's all going to be fine. We all stuff up. Don't worry about it. Now, when we look at the earth, when we look at a tree, I want everyone to go outside tomorrow and find the perfect tree. That's, grown perfectly, it's in line, there's nothing gone wrong. Every tree has dead leaves and a branch that's broken and all that. It's the same with people as well. We're all going to have things that we're going to have imperfections, and myrrh really nourishes with that. The other oil that I do like to really pair with smoky quartz is good old balance. Again, it's our grounding blend. So the key word with myrrh, with balance, with smoky quartz is more that grounding. Whereas with amethyst, my key word would probably be more peace kind of thing. Both nice and calming, but in slightly different ways. Talking about that confusion and that worry, the next crystal is clear quartz. So clear quartz, I want you to think of, it's like white light in a stone. It's kind of your jack of all trades. It can help with everything. And what it does is it helps to bring balance, first of all. It's why we use a lot in healing and sending white light, and why we visualize white light. This is like white light in crystal form in that way. It's this is, whereas the other two are more calming, this is quite energizing and kind of gives you a bit of a boost. And a really nice thing to do is leave clear quartz out in the sun, especially on the summer solstice is my favorite day to do it, but any day will be great. And then kind of carry that around as like a solar boost and giving you that boost in that type of way. The oil that I love to pair this with is peppermint. Now, when we breathe in peppermint, we know we get this clarity, and we've got a clear crystal. And again, we've got that clarity and that clearness. When we know what's happening, when we feel clearer, when we make decisions, we know where we're heading. This is the one really interesting thing. And it was great. You know, Erin was talking about how we always swap. I had Byron Twilley doing something in my group on Sunday. And he's talking about, you know, there are lots of things that we can control in our lives, and there are lots of things we cannot. But the one thing we always have control over is our attitude and our beliefs and our choices. You know, the government can decide things, our family can decide things, our partner can decide things, but it's us who decides how we react to that. And when we work with clear quartz and when we work with peppermint, we can be really clear on, this is my intent on how I'm going to deal with this. And, you know, we're in the lucky states at the moment in West Australia and South Australia, we don't have lockdowns. But if we had to go into a 6-week lockdown for some reason, we can either fall into this sucks, I hate the government, blah, 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 and whatever, you know, scripting you want to take with that. Or you can go, well, this is something I can't control. I live in this state. I'm a citizen of this state. How am I going to bring light to this situation? How am I going to choose? And it's about taking that control back in that way. So clear quartz is really rebalancing, reharmonizing, and remember that humans are meaning-making machines. Erin and I can both go see a movie tomorrow night together, and we walk out, and Erin's like, that was crap. And I'm like, no, that was the most brilliant movie ever. So was the movie good or bad? It's just a movie, and we all have opinions, and life is the same. And clear quartz is like, I'm going to be really clear on what I want to decide, and I'm going to make my choices to create the life and enjoy the life that I have and make the most of whatever I have control over and that kind of thing. So we can always choose our attitude. And I thought, you know, flicking through reels in my little off time this morning, and there was one lady who goes, no one can piss you off, no one can make you angry, no one can upset you unless you decide to get upset or angry by them, kind of thing. Now, that's not giving a free pass to people that are being knobs and assholes in your life, kind of thing. But just look at, as we talk about using the oils proactively before we get sick, instead of being reactive with it, we don't want to be reactive with our health. We don't want to be reactive with how we treat our life as well. And clear quartz is like, let's just make sure that I'm aware of the decisions I'm making and how I'm reacting. And peppermint, you breathe it in, we get that clarity, and clear quartz really helps you to do the same. One little thing I will say as a side note for clear quartz is that it is an amplifier of energy. So it's not a good one to have in the bedroom at night.
That's what I was just about to say to you. It doesn't sound like it would be a good nighttime bedroom, more so an office or a hallway kind of space.
Exactly. There's obviously in your house, there's up spaces and there's down spaces. Where you want to chill, you probably don't want your amethyst in that kind of thing. Have it in, yeah, exactly. Like an office is a perfect space in that kind of way. The other two are going to be those more calming ones. So having amethyst at your desk can be great if you're working in spirituality, but Erin, if you didn't get much sleep last night, having amethyst near you, again, might not be too much of a good one either. Do you mean? You might be like, oh, I'm feeling really peaceful in that kind of way. So yeah, just like our oils, we don't have a bad night's sleep and put lavender in the diffuser for the day to help us get through the day. We put peppermint in, and it's the same with your crystals as well. Next on my little list, good old rose quartz. Rose quartz, of course, it seems like a pretty obvious pairing, but I like obvious sometimes. Goes really well with rose essential oil. Now, these are very much about what I love about rose quartz. It's not actually my favorite love crystal. It's not a good one for attracting love into your life. Because if you think about when you first met your partner, if you've got a partner, or the relationship you want to have, normally there's a bit more fire to it. Rose quartz is quite soft and gentle. Rose quartz is more that energy of friendship, of comfort, of compassion, of forgiveness, of acceptance, of understanding. And so it really helps to quell. And anyone who does like angels, it has more of that Chamuel kind of energy. Chamuel is very much about accepting and embracing other people. You know, if Chamuel could just sit down with everyone for and have a chat, his question would just be, can't we just all get along? Like, why not? That kind of thing. And that's really what rose quartz is really beautiful in that way. It really helps us open up our heart to everyone. And Dave Sterling, who's, you know, our CEO of doTERRA, he offered a challenge recently to every doTERRA customer and member, saying, I challenge you to become friends with 3 people in the world who are vastly different to yourself. And I think this is such great advice, because in times of stress like we may find ourselves in, we surround ourselves with like-minded people. And there is, when we do that, that's great to have that support. But there's also this risk of it, we get this us and them. Like, how on earth could they do that and that kind of thing? And rose quartz is, again, and that energy is, can't we all just get along? Rose is known as like this high vibration and love oil. And it's very much about unconditional love, loving people without condition. And as I often say with Rose, I want you to think about the last time you got upset with someone in your life that you're close to. And my bet was the reason you got upset was they weren't fulfilling an expectation that you held, regardless of who's right and who's wrong. And so we have these expectations. Again, I'm not giving people free passes for being, you know, knobs or anything, but a lot of the time, the reason we're getting upset is because our partner isn't doing what we want them to do. And rose quartz is just like, and rose quartz and rose, both of that. Let's just accept people and realize that everyone is on their path. Because if we can do that, that exciting thing about that is that grants us our own freedom to stop trying to please everyone else and be a bit more authentic about ourselves, to stop trying to put on masks or graces or be something we're not and all that kind of thing. So it's more just about that acceptance of you know, it's a word that gets used quite a lot, but that authenticity. And it's authenticity isn't just necessarily about you going and, you know, in your 40s like I am, going and getting more tattoos and getting a piercing and going, this is who I truly am. It's more about just like, let's just be who we are and stop trying, but also give everyone else that state as well. And I think that creates more sense of community, and that we're all in this together and that we're all fallible. We all know that we're not perfect. And rose quartz and rose really help us to open our hearts to that. Remember that the action of flowers, and especially ones like rose, is they blossom. They open up to other people. They open up to all the different layers. They've got many different petals in there. So that's really what rose is great for as well. The next one, citrine. This is sunshine in a stone. This is where we look at, sometimes we look at what we don't want in our lives, and there are crystals for protection and grounding. But what do we want to bring in more of? We want to bring in more joy. We want to bring in more happiness. We want to bring in more sunshine. And citrine is considered to be that sunshine in a stone. It's the oil that I paired this with mainly is bergamot. Now, bergamot, again, is that really great one for self-worth. It's about feeling good about ourselves. You know, from a financial point of view, this is known as the merchant stone. Bergamot is one of my favorites for attracting abundance into our lives as well. How they both work is they both help to lift us up. And we know when we're in that flow, when things are going well, everything seems to be going well. Do you mean like the money's in the bank account, the relationship with the partner is going well, job's going well, work's going well, kids are behaving, got something cool to do on Saturday night, just got free show tickets, you know, everything's that. And there's those other times when like, just got a debt collector letter, fighting with my partner, mother-in-law's pissing me off, kids are being shit, do you mean? And that kind of thing. And citrine and bergamot are just like backing you up in this kind of friendly, really delightful way. We know that bergamot is a citrus oil, but it's like the chilled out citrus oil. It's just about basically there, if they could speak to you, they'd say lighten up. Because as you lighten up, it's not about if disregarding your worries and the stresses and your concerns in life. It's just, again, changing that approach If you can lift your vibration about it, you'll probably find better solutions, and the universe will collaborate with you in that way. So that can be really nice as well. It also helps you feel better about yourself and empowers you from that solar plexus point of view. So those 5 crystals there, they're actually all of the quartz family: smoky, rose, and clear quartz, obviously, but citrine and amethyst as well. So they're kind of, when I always say 5 crystals that people should start with, they're my favorite 5 to start off with. And you kind of got a little bit of everything in there, from your uppers to your downers to your kind of joy and happy and a bit of love as well. The other 2 that I wanted to talk about, the next one is called kyanite. And I'll quickly type it in the chat. Kyanite. It comes in various colors. The most popular one, or most common one, is blue, but you also find it in orange, green, and black. I want you to imagine that I'm going to take you off to a wood cabin in the middle of the bush all by yourself for a week, where your partner, your kids, your colleagues, your friends, your family, no one can contact you. And what you'd probably do is you'd probably find, you'd find your own natural balance that way. Unfortunately, we can't spend our lives in a log cabin, and we have to be out in the world, and different people are always pulling and their demands, and that can kind of drag us. So this is where kyanite comes in. I want you to think of this as like your spiritual barbed wire. It kind of just helps them push away and not take on too much energy. Some people relate to the term as being an empath. And an empath is someone who may feel a lot of emotional energy from other people, or when they're in crazy busy areas like busy restaurants or the city or something, they get overwhelmed in that type of way. And even once they've left that place, they still feel emotionally overwhelmed in that way as well. And kyanite can be really great for that. It's kind of, it helps you to kind of still feel and have that compassion and be able to relate to people, but not to drag that on and have that kind of dragging you down as time goes on. This is the oil, this is the crystal that I like best with adaptive. So kyanite is also really great for, as we kind of free ourselves from those constraints and demands of other people, we're able to be ourselves a bit more and flexible a bit more. We find when we're in the eye of the storm and not getting swept up in the storm, we feel more empowered in that way. And kyanite kind of helps us to sit in there, as does adaptive. So they're really good for helping you to be more adaptable, to help you be more changing, and just to deal with stress as well. We can't always control the storm, but we can sit in the middle of it. And kyanite, it's kind of like you're in the eye of the storm, kyanite's around you like this little bit of barbed wire, and then the craziness is all around you. It helps to separate. It can be helpful even in times like Mercury retrograde as well. As a Gemini, I'm a Gemini, if there's any other Geminis listening as well. Geminis tend to be social butterflies. They talk to a lot of people. Each time we interact with someone, we pick up a little bit of energy. And this can be a really great crystal that I wear a lot when I'm doing big social events, to just help me kind of not take on too much and feel totally drained in that way. The other oil that I love with this is Rosalina. And I hope to the gods that you got Rosalina last month and stocked up on it, because that oil is a godsend. That is a really great one for the third eye chakra. It's also known as swamp paperbark. So it has a very watery energy because it grows near water. And it, again, helps us with that adaptability. It's actually, I think, the best oil you can put in your diffuser at night, because it has that cleansing of properties of like tea tree and respiratory support, but it's also got a high linalool content, so it's like lavender as well. So I love Rosalina. So please, if you've got it, enjoy it and use it. And if you don't, as soon as that comes back up, get it as well. But that works really well with that kyanite. But Rosalina helps you to kind of, adapt. The other thing I talk about with Rosalina as well, and kyanite kind of come into this, is often when we think of the full moon as this time of putting out a wish and like, universe, bring me a new partner. And the universe is like, right, cool, I'll meet you there. And we sit on our couch and go, well, where's the new partner? Why is my new partner not coming? And Rosalina helps us to realize, how do we have to change to meet the universe where it's going to meet us? If we want to be a millionaire, the universe will go, cool, I'll make you a millionaire. I'll meet you there. The universe does not home deliver. It doesn't Uber Eats. You've actually got to get out there and meet it halfway. And Rosalina helps us to understand how to be adaptable, how to change our behavior to meet and manifest our goals as well. Oh, cool. Everyone's commenting in there as well. The final one is going to be for our crystal connoisseurs. It's a bit of a rarer stone, and it's called Quantum Quattro. And it's actually 5 different stones all growing together. Let me pop in the chat and spell it. So quantum, oh, hold on, I should write this whole thing, should I? Quantum Quattro, so Quantum Quattro. Now, it's only found in Namibia. It was discovered in 1996, and it's actually 5 crystals growing together. It is malachite, shadokite, dioptase, chrysocolla, and they all grow in a bed of smoky quartz. This is basically your crystal of emotional liberation. Malachite is a really great crystal. Those that know it, it's a bright green crystal, really great for when you go in and drag out the issues and look at them. Sometimes malachite is known as a crystal paradise. Why it's a crystal paradise? I like to pair it with butterflies. For a butterfly to become a butterfly, it must go into the darkness. It's different to a frog that just grows legs and jumps out of the pond. The caterpillar has to go into the darkness, become mush, face that, and then fight its way out of the darkness. It can't avoid it. So that's malachite helps us to do that. You then have this, you'll see there's dark blue lines in it. That's shadokite. And shadokite works with our intellect and our third eye chakra and helps us to really look at what's happened in the past, at what's hurt us, and to look at what role that played, maybe what the advantages are, maybe how we have lopsided perceptions, that we're seeing that all bad and we're not seeing any benefits, maybe seeing maybe we're to blame a bit for it as well, all that kind of realistic expectation. And then we have a bright green crystal in here called dioptase, and it really works with what's known as the higher heart chakra, and it's all about acceptance. It's just going, okay, well, the past is past, and I'm going to accept that. I'm going to accept my responsibility. I'm going to accept how I've reacted in the past. I'm going to accept the pain, and I'm going to take control, and I'm okay with that. And then chrysocolla is a really nurturing light blue crystal, and you can see the light blue colors in it, that helps us to release. So we've got realize, understand, accept, and release. And then smoky quartz comes in at the end and gives you a big hug and goes, well done, tiger. Where this crystal works really beautifully is with our conifer essential oils, our big tree essential oils. And there's a story in the Black Spruce chapter of our book where the creator, once at the beginning of time, set a challenge for all the trees and plants to stay awake for 7 days and 7 nights. And the first night, they all did it. They all succeeded. On the second night, a few of the smaller plants fell asleep and couldn't do it. And by the 7th night, it was only the conifers, our cypresses, our spruce, our firs, our cedars, our junipers and that stayed awake. And so the creator said, as a reward for passing the challenge, you shall become the evergreens. And in the winter, when all the other trees will lose their leaves, you shall keep your leaves, and you'll be there as that strength and that resilience for humanity to come and for the animals and everyone else who needs you. So not just in the physical winters of our life, but the conifers all give us strength when we're going through a winter in our life. And that can be a tough time. So that you can have a winter in December kind of thing. Do you get what I mean? And these oils, they all, they're big, they're strong, and they just encourage us to breathe. So these really help us to kind of get a bigger perspective, to open up to our mind, and they work beautifully with Quantum Quattro in that kind of process of like really looking at what's hurt us and being liberated from that in one way or another. The one reason I wanted to talk about the conifers, you can pick your favorites of, whether it be Douglas fir, Siberian fir, cypress, black spruce, or juniper berry, cedar, arbor vitae, or even nootka and hinoki that come up occasionally. They're all kind of in that conifer family. We also have forgive that's available all the time, and perfect timing, midnight friggin' forest. If you have not ordered this, I don't care if you've done your loyalty rewards order, you need to do another loyalty rewards order just for this. It's frigging amazing. I got it when it came out in America, I think last month or a couple of months ago, and adore it. It's got all those cypress oils in there, plus some other really powerful, great oils in there as well. And they help to bring that strength and that liberation from any of this worry and pain that's dragging you down in that time. So it works so beautifully. And I really, there's another one called Northern Escape that's now available full time in the US warehouse. So if you're doing the US order, pop that on there. That again has lots of the conifers all working together. So really, really beautiful oil. So those are my 7 kind of crystal tips. Just being aware of the time as well. How do we combine these together? Well, the answer is however you friggin' want to. As long as you got them in around you, they're both going to have an influence, kind of thing. So I might want to diffuse lavender and wear an amethyst pendant, or carry a little amethyst tumblestone in my pocket. That's a real simplistic way of doing it. You can get crystal roller balls, and you can make rollers that kind of match up and they work together as well. One of my favorite things to do, though, that it kind of popped into my head one day, is there's this practice of putting crystals in water, and obviously, like you make flower essence, you kind of make crystal essences in that way. And then I thought one day, well, what would happen if we put our crystals into our diffuser, and then we put our oils in there that have a matching energy? And so, as that mist is spreading around our space, not only are we getting the magic of the essential oil, but we're getting the magic of the crystal as well. And I call that my crystal cauldrons. So you can do that. Now, one little tip, putting crystals in water in whatever form. Not all crystals can go in water. They'll dissolve, they lose their color. Sometimes they have high content of things like aluminium or copper or stuff like that. We don't want that to happen. So here's my basic rule. The only crystals to put in water are your quartz family. So those are the 5 I spoke about first: smoky quartz, clear quartz, rose quartz, amethyst, and citrine, and tumbled stones. So these are the stones that kind of look like quantum quattro, like this one, and it's got a bit of a varnish on it, so it's going to be fine popped in the diffuser. The only tumbled stone you're not going to put in there is selenite. So, but raw stones like this, some will be fine. Yep, Erin's showing in there as well. Some will be fine, but we could sit here for 3 hours and go through which crystals you can and which you can't. But as a rule, I say your quartz family and your tumbled stones, put them in water. Your raw stones and your selenite, don't. Easy as that kind of thing, and we'll leave it at that. So I'd really encourage you. I'd love you to try a crystal cauldron. Just all you need is one little tumbled stone in the diffuser. Don't put it on the round disc thing. Just put it kind of on the side of the diffuser and let it do its magic in that way, and see if you notice a difference. Crystals, they're more subtle than oils can be. So, but give it a whirl if you don't use so much, and you may just start to notice some real differences in that way. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. Are there any questions I can answer for anyone?
Thanks, Adam. I've actually I started doing the crystal cauldrons, maybe it's been about 18 months when you first said about it. And so, yeah, we've got a lot of tumbled stones. So they're in our diffusers throughout the house, which has been really good. What I did want to ask, if anyone else has got any questions, pop them in the chat box. So if we're looking at hallways, entryways to our home, what are the best crystals to have there? Will it just depend on what we want to create in that space?
It does, yeah. So if you want, if it's kind of a hallway that like your front door opens and then a hallway and that kind of thing, you might want to create a nice welcoming environment kind of thing. So that's where like your smoky quartz or your amethyst or your rose quartz would be really good. But if you're kind of looking, if you want that to be an invigorating space, if you kind of, feng shui is not my superpower, but if you're kind of looking at bringing in abundance in the door, then citrine might be good, or the clear quartz might be good, or even carnelian, which is the bright orange stone. So it's really about, what the intention is of how do I want that to feel kind of thing. And, if you're still learning a bit about crystals, as a general rule, we kind of know what each color represents in a way. Reds and oranges and yellows are more vibrant. Greens and blues and purples are a bit more calming. That's the kind of go with that in that way. And don't, even if you, at the end of the day, humans are the ones that name crystals. And if you don't have any friggin' idea what this crystal is and you happen to have it kicking around, but it kind of makes you feel kind of, I don't know, happy around other people, then put it in a lounge room. Do you know what I mean? There's no wrong or right way, just kind of feel into it. So Yeah, that's what I do with the hallway, depending on my intent, whether you want to kind of uplift or relax. You want an upper or a downer is what you want to focus on.
Yeah, awesome. And just can you just give us a little bit of info about black tourmaline?
Yeah, so black tourmaline is, the black crystals such as black tourmaline, think of them like when we wear black and we go stand in the sun, it absorbs energy. So think of your black crystals like sponges. They absorb things that don't serve us or in unwanted ways. Now, black tourmaline, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to show off for a second. You don't need something this big, but you'll see that it grows in these big kind of rods like this. And black tourmaline I often refer to as the bodyguard. So it actually works and kind of pushes things off your path to help you kind of focus on what you need to focus on and stop distractions in that way. And as it clears your path, it's really great in that way. So people like to use black stones for protection. I actually prefer another one called tiger's eye, which is yellow and shiny. It works, instead of working like a sponge, it works like a mirror and deflects unwanted energy away. It's also got that connection to the sun, like citrine does. And so it kind of really helps to uplift you. And it's kind of, what's that saying? Eagles don't worry what chickens are doing or something like that. That's not the quote, but you know the one I'm talking about. And tiger's eye does help you just don't worry about what all the rubbish that's happening below you, rise above it. And I find sometimes people that if they work too much with black crystals, they're in the battlefield all the time. And tiger's eye is like, come on, let's go fly. Let's get up above that.
So Anne's just said about the crystal chips in a roller bottle. So that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's going to be fine because that's one of our quartzes. So amethyst and citrine are actually part of the quartz family. So they're going to be fine in a roller. And you will find even crystal chips normally have a bit of a varnish on them. They normally varnish those as well. So that'll be absolutely fine. And yeah, an amethyst one would be great with lavender. It would be great with serenity. Any of those real calming kind of blends as well would be great.
Fabulous. Any other questions, guys? So, Adam, have you still got copies of your book left, you and Vanessa?
Yes, I do. Yep.
I'm going to pop that in the chat box.
I'll pop a couple of links in. Yeah, give me 2 seconds. We are actually running very low in stock. That's why I thought I'd ask. We have I'll tell you how many we've got. We've got 17 left. So if you wanted to grab a copy, please grab it kind of sooner rather than later. Pop 2 links in there. So the first one is just what's called my link tree. So I do lots of education on crystals and essential oils on YouTube, on my podcast, on my newsletter, Instagram. If there's a social media platform, I'll be on it in some form. And basically, if you click on that first link, it'll open up a menu. It kind of shows all the different things. You can choose what kind of things you like to follow on. And then the book is available on that link there as well, kind of if you want to grab that. That'll also take you, I do have a book on crystals as well, called Crystal Connections. With that, basically, it does have a little bit of oil stuff scattered throughout it as well. There's lots of crystal books out there, and they tell you that, rose quartz is good for love and citrine is good for happiness, but they don't tell you what to do with them. So my crystal book talks about what they're good for, but okay, how do we get it off the shelf and actually use it so it's not just in there looking pretty as well? So if you want either one of them, they're both available on that second link as well. Fabulous. And that's the important part, because just like our oils, if we don't take the lids off and know how to use them, then we don't get the benefits to it, do we? Exactly. Spot on. Couldn't put it better. Yep. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you joining us and sharing your knowledge, and I look forward to the crystals that you are sourcing for me. Yes. To getting some more into my home, and I might actually move a few around in my house now that we've had this chat. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm sure Jules has sent a private message, but I don't think she meant to. She said she could listen to you all day and all night, Adam. Oh, thanks, Jules. I appreciate that. You should tell my family that. Tell Jonathan. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for joining. I will pop the recording in our group so you can refer to that or share that with your teams as well. So thank you once again. I really appreciate it. And you have a really lovely Western Australian night.
Will do. I'll talk to you all very soon. Take care.
Bye.